Now.
Hello and welcome for today's hangout on air on LCCF TV, the Low Carbon City Forum TV channel. We have a great panel today, which we are hosting tonight and this morning actually, because we have guests from Europe and also Latin America. And today's topic is mainstreaming walking and cycling for zero carbon transport, because we all know when we think about future cities, how we can decarbonize our footprints. Transport is quite a big issue. It's a big consumer of fossil fuels. And we have a great round today. We have Bronwen and Thornton lined up, which we are still waiting for to get online. We have Peatónito, a pedestrian activist superhero, joining us from Mexico City. We have Bernhard Ensink, the Secretary General of the European Cyclists Federation and also the World Cycling Alliance, joining us from the Netherlands. We have Sarah Drummond, the co-founder and the Director of Design of the CycleHack global movement, joining us from London. And then we have Natalie Lleras. She is the research director for despacio.org, joining us from Bogota. So what we are going to do during today's hangout is that we talk with our guests, which are representing a good bandwidth of advocates, activists, and researchers. And that sounds actually very good. Peatónito, we hear you now, and you will have your word very soon. And during this hangout, we will explore how active transport, namely walking and cycling, will be able to shape future cities that are actually looking to organize themselves beyond fossil fuels. We will see which barriers still exist to mainstreaming walking and cycling to their full potential. And we will see what current advocacy and activism strategies are very promising to reach that state of mainstreaming. By the way, that was just a car outside of the window, if you ask yourself what was so loud. And then during that whole talk, we will always interweave what benefits walking and cycling actually provide for citizens, and what benefits also activists and advocates can argue with. So I just wanted to give all the viewers a brief update on the Low Carbon City Forum. We are very happy because we just published the final program for the forum. We have from 10 to 12 of October, we have more than 100 speakers in Medellin from more than 30 countries, and that interact in 60 exciting or more than 60 exciting sessions during the forum. And we expect up to 3,000 participants. So check out our website with the latest program, www.lowcarbon.city, and join us in Medellin. And now we jump right into the conversation. And I think we should pretty much start with the mobility pyramid. So we start with the people walking, and I would ask actually Peatónito to introduce yourself in the beginning, and maybe you can say a little bit about walking in general, because we are still waiting for Bronwen and Thornton from Walk 21.
All right, thanks, Florian. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
All right. So hello to everyone, to all the speakers. Hello to all the people who's watching this hangout. And I'm very happy to be here. And I like that, pedestrian first. Let me introduce myself. I'm an activist in Mexico City. I'm a luchador, a wrestler in the streets, fighting for the rights of pedestrians. I'm part of a big organization in Mexico City who's called the Pedestrian League. We call it La Liga Peatonal. We are more than 30 pedestrian groups all around Mexico, and we are fighting for the rights of pedestrians. It's not only I mean, let me start like pointing the main enemy of this conversation. I think that the main enemy of this conversation is the excessive use of motorized vehicles, the lack of regulation of the motorized vehicles, and all these infrastructure that we have built in our cities for cars instead of people. So that makes it very difficult to walk, no? And walk is our more natural way of transportation, no? We have been walking for thousands of years, and a car was invented just like 150 years ago. So so it's a main issue that we get in love with cars. I mean, cars and motorized vehicles are a great invasion of humanity. But if we don't regulate the motorized vehicles, we have all the consequences. I mean, people are dying. In Mexico, 43 people die per day because traffic collisions, and also is the main cause of death of our children in Mexico, traffic collisions. And all these motorized vehicles also cause sedentarism and obesity. In Mexico, we are the country with more, we have the children who has more obesity in the world in Mexico. And it's not only because the children eat junky food, it's also because the children, they are not moving. They are stopping going to school, walking or biking. They are starting to use motorized vehicles to go everywhere. And what else? But I mean, here we are going to talk about air quality and low carbon cities. And in Mexico, 38 people die per day, due mainly to motorized vehicles pollution, no? All these respiratory diseases, and people is dying because of that. No, all this great infrastructure in our cities, all this infrastructure for motorized vehicles, for cars, and we don't have more green infrastructure in our cities. No, that has a lot of consequences. So all the environmental services that the green infrastructure can give us, no, and instead of that, we are building more parking lots. We have more expanded cities, no, and a study of ITDP has showed us that more compact cities has less CO2 emissions, no, low carbon. Compact cities equal a low carbon cities, and compact cities invite us to walk more, to bike more, to move in a more sustainable way, no. So that's I think that's like the general topic. And I mean, the solution is easy, no. We have to build these cities, compact cities, dense cities, where we can walk more. We don't, in order to have not an hostile the streets, because walking is like an extreme sport here in Mexico City and in a lot of cities in the world. So we have to invite people to walk, building these cities. I mean, low carbon cities is more sustainable cities with more sustainable mobility, no? So this is a revolution, no? We have to return to the past before cars has invented. We have to regulate how we are going to invite cars to our cities, and we have to do this shift of paradigm, no? These revolutions, and in these revolutions, pedestrians and cyclists, we are together.
Yes. Thank you very much for that opening statement. I also think that this is very, very important, and leads us to our next person that I wanted to ask to introduce herself. It's Natalie Lleras from Despacio, because Despacio is working on both walking and cycling, as I know your project. So can you introduce your organization and your work? We don't hear you.
Hold on.
Now it's good. Now it's good.
Hello?
Yes, now we hear you.
Okay. So as Florian said, I'm the director of research of Despacio. I work in I basically specialize in sustainable urban mobility and road safety. At Despacio, we promote sustainable and livable cities. and we do this through research and a few different projects. We have a few documents that can give you an idea of where Latin America and Bogota are at in terms of the use of the bicycle. One is the bicycle account, and the other one is it's a guide for bike inclusion in policy for Latin American cities that also has a lot of indicators of how many cities in Latin America monitor this aspect. Our last publication was it's a guide for bike infrastructure for Colombian cities. And right now we're working on a project with the help of GRSP to reduce speeds in the city of Bogota, since we have a big share of fatal victims dying on the streets every day, and they're basically pedestrians and bike users, vulnerable users. So that's where we're at with Despacio.
Okay, thank you very much. You can check out Despacio's work at www.despacio.org. I just wanted to say hi to Bronwen, who joins us on the guest channel. Great to have you with us. So we are complete. As you get comfortable, Bronwen, here online, I wanted to pass on the word to Sarah in London to introduce yourself and your organization that you bring today to the table, which is quite interesting.
Hey, yeah, thank you. So hello, my name's Sarah Drummond. I'm here in London, and we kind of represent, I guess, like the whole world. I'm from an organization that I co-founded with Matthew Lowell and Joanna Holton when we were based in Scotland, called CycleHack. And basically, we're on a mission to try and reduce barriers to cycling and make the world more sustainable by doing that. We have evolved from a real grassroots organization. The three of us are very keen cyclists, also kind of designers. And we put our heads together in end of 2013 to put together a hackathon event. That's where you get lots of different talented people together, people who have insights around what are barriers to cycling from multiple perspectives, whether they're pedestrians, whether they're car drivers, whether they're policymakers, government, citizens, cyclists. And we asked them to start with the problems they want to solve around cycling. And over a 2-day event, which is very fast-paced, we get them to develop solutions to that. And we get them to prototype what they might look like and how they feel, and actually test them out really quickly in the city, in a studio environment, in their homes, and present them at the end of the weekend. And what's, I guess, been quite special about it is that we started in Glasgow with one event, but in under 2 years, we've grown it to running in 2016 in over 30 cities around the globe. And it's really exciting because what we're trying to do is to take more of a kind of systems thinking approach to all the things you need to think about changing to make cycling more accessible for people. So whether that's hacking policy, changing signs in the street, new products for bikes, redesigning bike services, but uniquely trying to bring people together to have a very democratic space that isn't a group of citizens being frustrated at a council or a government or a municipality, but actually co-designing together the solutions that will solve some of the problems and barriers to cycling. And in the short time we've been going, and we're not funded, this has been completely grassroots. We've helped ideas come to life, like Amsterdam's first bike mayor. The Brussels group have met the Minister for Transport to look at implementing their ideas. We had a very famous and silly idea come out called Penny in Your Pants, which was around helping women bike in skirts, which you may or may have not seen, but the wider achievement of that was having a lot of people talking about women and cycling in mainstream magazines across the globe. And so really what we're all about is just giving people that really democratic space to come and be proactive, using design skills and technology to really rethink some of the solutions to getting more people on bikes. And we're designed for scale, so anyone across the globe can join us once a year. We provide all the toolkits and guidance and a community to put on a free event for communities. And we're really proud to have cities across the world, from Cape Town to Vancouver, Melbourne, Paris, Berlin, all joining in a big kind of global community. So that's what we do. We're really centered on that approach of design and people-centered ideation. So yeah, I can talk a bit more about some of the things that have come out, but that's what we do at CycleHack.
Yeah, thank you very much. I even heard that in Vienna there was a CycleHack this year from some people. And let's stay with cycling. I would suggest, and I'm very happy that we have Dr. Bernhard Ensink today, who is the Secretary General of both the EU Cyclists Federation and the World Cycling Alliance, which are two very powerful cycling lobbying or cycling advocacy groups. But I think, Bernhard, you can explain more in detail about your work in your institutions.
Yes, I can, and thank you for inviting us to join this TV conference. To catch up with CycleHack, I was glad that I was cycling through Brussels and got a leaflet about an event from CycleHack. Couldn't join, but I like the concept, and I think at the end of this discussion, I think we will come back on how we should get involved as citizens in planning, and I think this is an excellent approach. So our slogan is, and our mission is, more people cycling more often. This is what we do. We put cycling in the center, but we are not narrow-minded. We talk about all these things that the pedestrians already brought to the table today. It is on city development, it is on human space, it's human speed, on placemaking in the city development, and all the sustainable development goals, the global goals we have. So even if we put cycling in the center, we put the people in the center, and we want, of course, sustainable, livable cities for everybody. How we work is that we have, you can say, ECF, European Cyclists Federation, as a federation of civil society organizations, cyclist users organization, and associated members organizations that promote cycling, that work on cycling somehow. We have members from all the European countries, of course, not only the European Union countries, from all Europe, and we have members from around the world, from Taiwan, from China, from India, from Brazil, from North America. And because the demand was high to us to say, you are the leaders of the bicycle advocacy internationally, so please start something that is more global, and we did. So since 2014 we have the network we call World Cycling Alliance, with about more than 100 civil society organizations that are members of that network, and we are now in the phase of that World Cycling Alliance to structure it more and to make it more, can say, organized and more powerful than it is at this moment. The European Cyclists Federation works with everybody that has an interest and wants to promote cycling. We work with cities. We have a cities network, Cities for Cyclists. This is a global network. For example, Rio de Janeiro is one of our members. We work with scientists. It is meant as a global network also, Scientists for Cycling. So we try to organize, for example, annual or sometimes twice a year, a scientific colloquium to get the researchers inspired and to get something out of the researchers that do research on cycling. We work with the industry. We have a cycling industry club. We just had the world biggest bicycle show here in Germany, in Europe, where we had an advocacy summit and where we tried to address the bicycle industry with Smarter Cycling Conference, to catch up, you can say, in technological sense from the cycling industry with the smart cities concept. I will come back to that later, I guess. So this makes us, I think, strong, that we come from grassroots organizations. We have the federation of all the civil society organizations, but we try to work with everybody that has an interest. And even, you can say, the pedestrians organizations, Walk 21, we see as one of the partners. The UITP, the public transport organizations, we see one of our partners. So within the so-called SLOCAT network, Sustainable Low Carbon Transport, that works on a global level, we are a very active member in that network. And we do the international lobby to, you can say, United Nations. We were involved in the COP21. We will be involved in COP22. We work in Habitat 3 process. So we will be in Quito for Habitat 3. and so I can go on as long as you want. But I think we are the leader in cycling advocacy on the international level, and we try to work with everyone. So everyone should be a partner, because we all together, I think we have to work on the implementation of the global goals.
Yes, that's thank you very much, Bernhard. Also, that you again stated this integrative approach, and that we, you know, I think it's very clear that that as person walking and as person cycling, you can only gain from supporting each other's wish so that we create our cities in a more human scaled way. And every person cycling needs to walk towards the bicycle until the bicycle. So, you know, every person cycling is also walking in most cases. There's a few people who are hand cycling who are excluded there, but they are special as well. But let's come to our final guest, to Bronwen Thornton, the development director of the Walk 21 organization. If you can introduce yourself and your organization, please. I hope that that you're not that now it should work.
Is the microphone working?
No, now it's fine. It's all yours.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, finally I managed to join. Hi, I'm Bronwen Thornton. I'm the development director with Walk 21, and we are promoting walking. It's a very unique thing to do in this world, albeit it's becoming more popular day by day. Walking has always been very popular, of course. We formed as an organization. We began in the year 2000 with a conference in London, and we've been running an annual international conference for the last 17 years. And this year, literally in a month, we are going to be in Hong Kong talking about walking and hosting our event there for the first time in the Asian region. So we're looking forward to that very much. We have been leading on a sort of a policy and framework agenda, inspiring politicians and training up professionals through a series of projects and programs over the last 10 years. In 2006, we launched the International Charter for Walking, which was a collective effort led by Daniel Sauter to provide a strategic direction and a vision for walking. Because when you said to people, we want more walkable communities, nobody actually knew what that meant back in the early 2000s, albeit older cities had always been doing that. And then after launching the International Charter, we operationalized it with survey tools, roadshows, walkability masterclasses, and things like that. And we're evolving now into the Walk 21 Global Network and continuing to host our conference, but also provide that representative role that ECF talked about through the World Cycling Alliance, through Walk 21 on these international forums, and continuing to work on European projects to do some of that on-the-ground project work to address the barriers for more walking. But our focus remains political policy level than on the sort of on-the-ground applications, albeit you ask us, we'll try and come up with the answer if it relates to walking.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to play the ball back to either Bernhard or Natalia for the next question, because we want to, you know, I think that it's great to see that the cycling and the walking movement, they gained considerable self-confidence over the last years, and rightly so, because they have been discovered by people that are building cities and by administrators as ways to really create better cities, more human-friendly cities to support quality of life, but also to really encounter pressing challenges like car dependency, for example, like being trapped in having to rely on a car, you know, basically people discovering that walking and cycling used in an urbane way or in an urban setting can really provide more freedom and quality of life. So so in this whole process where advocates get more self-confidence, where you say, look, but this is really, it's also our city, it's everybody's city, but it's not only, it should not only be a car city, as Peatónito said rightly before. But what's the next step, you know? Like what's sort of the end game when we also think about what role walking and cycling can play for zero carbon transport or for future transport. Maybe Bernhard, you can say something about the study that ECF also did together with UC Davis, where you created this high cycling scenario. And then I will ask Natalie about it, a further question.
Yeah, I'm eager to do so. So I think as an international organization, I think we are still in the phase that we have to work on better and more recognition by the United Nations, by international bodies, even by the European Union, some countries around the world, of course a lot of cities around the world, recognition of all the benefits of cycling. What we did to address, you can say, the focus of a lot of transport discussions nowadays on decarbonization of transport, we gave commissioned a study to ITDP together with partners, UCI, and a sponsor from North America, to calculate what it would mean in economic terms and in savings of CO2 emissions if we would have a realistic but a high shift to more cycling worldwide. And I think the numbers they could present, and we present now to all the decision makers on the international level, are very impressive. So if you shift to more sustainable transport, and on top of that you focus additionally as much as you can on more cycling, including the new technology of electric assisted bicycles, you get really, can say, billions of dollars saving every year, and you get trillions of CO2 emission tons you can save. You can read that study on the internet. Just Google on our website a high shift cycling scenario and you can download it. So, and this study is meant as recognition on the international level. We have really tremendous benefits of cycling. And I'm happy that the pedestrians in this talk already widened the scope that low carbon cities has a threat in framing the discussion on decarbonization. And I think this is not a good thing. We have to put people in the center, and all the global goals that we can serve by more walking and more cycling and having more public transport or better transport against individual motorized transport. And of course, you can say the agenda of city development, as we will discuss in Quito. I think this has to be an integral discussion. So if we can use, you can say, decarbonization as a discussion to achieve livable cities, sustainable cities in all aspects, I would be very, very happy. The numbers are there, and the next steps for us is, you can say, working on that better recognition. One step will be that the World Cycling Alliance appeals for a United Nations General Assembly decision to have a World Bicycle Day, to use the symbol of the bicycle, to have one day a year that we really have a lot of publicity on cycling. We work very hard on getting an European Union strategic document for cycling. And of course we work hard, and this is one of the largest steps, next steps, to get cycling in a good way into the Quito document.
Thank you very much. Hello. Now I think now you should hear me. I muted myself. Thank you very much, Bernhard. Let's say a little bit with research. When you hear those high shift cycling scenarios that really look beyond this theoretical potential to mainstream cycling, what are your approach to this? Because Despacio is working in Latin America, as I know, but you also have projects on the African subcontinent or continent. Where would you see potentials to really expand the cycling mode shares or the share of cycling for transportation, but also walking, of course.
Yeah, we think that one big step is to actually improve road safety for vulnerable users. In Bogota, in 2014, we had about 64% of the fatal victims were cyclists and pedestrians. So we need to improve road safety for them, so they can, you know, we will get more people into their bikes and more people walking if we do this. We also believe that monitoring is one of the best ways to improve the bicycle and walking share in cities. If you don't know the impact of using this type of transport, then you cannot push for more. So when we did this research on 57 Latin American countries, we realized that only a few of them were actually monitoring the use of the bicycle, road safety for cyclists, and many other things that can actually push further, how do you say, yeah, the modal share of the bicycle. For example, if you don't know how many people were biking 2 years ago and you don't know how many people are biking today, you cannot tell the government, hey, we need more roads. It would be very complicated, but if you have these numbers, then it's easier to get things done.
Just a specific question, how did your counts work? How did those countings take place? Did you also use citizen help to account for cycling mode shares, or how was the methodology done?
No, we actually contacted, we had many different contacts in the city. Most of them were working with the government. Some of them were working with the Inter-American Development Bank. And we basically sent questionnaires asking for modal share, road safety, and it was about, I think, 56 indicators, different indicators. You can actually see the results on the guide. But yeah, we did not ask the public. We asked the government basically for the numbers.
Okay, so the public administration.
Yeah, the public administration, and many of them had no information at all on walking or cycling.
And what did you encounter? Did people in those administrations, did they think positive about walking and cycling as forms of transport, or just as a by-effect, or as a beneficial thing for their cities, or something to embrace and support?
Well, we just basically, when we contacted them, we said we were working on basically a comparison chart for all the cities, and we were able only to show a few of the indicators because they didn't have them. But then I guess it was the first time sometimes that they asked them for these questions. We actually had another, after the guide was published, some people were saying, wait a minute, the modal share is higher in the city. So we also got people interested in showing the right numbers. So hopefully we can do another guide like that in the future.
Yeah, maybe also the usual listing effect, you know, that one person on the list, as soon as they see the other, or one city on the list, seeing the other city on the list, and says like, oh, but we actually, in fact, we actually are supposed to be larger,
number one,
or under quotation marks better than the other city. So positive competition towards mainstream walking and cycling. And what arguments did you find helpful when you were talking to people in the administration? You know, people who are taking decisions, who could create change, or who could citizens ask for change? What are the arguments that are? Is it the decarbonization argument, the quality of life argument, the argument for protecting and saving children on the street? So what is effective in the Latin American?
It's mostly the environment, but we also noticed that many of the cities have actually an office. It's like the bicycle office, where they start all the planning for the bicycle infrastructure and all aspects. So we found this really interesting. Only a few cities have this type of office. I don't recall exactly what cities right now, but since it's a different department, they can actually plan everything from there, and it's not the same as the mobility department, or it's in the mobility department, but it's only about the biking.
But of course, it needs to talk to all the other departments. So
Yeah.
thank you, Natalia. It's a very interesting insight, and I think that research or urban research and studying the conditions of cycling is really, really important to know how we can change things. And I'm happy that I have all of you guests here today, because each of you provides a certain methodology or a certain strategy that people who want to build cities that are invested for walking and cycling that they can use. And Sarah from CycleHack, I wanted to ask you, when we want to create innovation, I mean, how was it possible for you guys at CycleHack to really create this enthusiastic, how to say, emergent happening, you know, like taking place for 2 days every year by basically sending out a hashtag and telling people, hey, it's you are actually the change, you know, you can create change yourself, and you can do this during 2 days. I mean, what do you think made that so successful, or what is that that emotion or that motivation that we can mainstream as well?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I don't really think that there's one answer to that. I think it's a multitude of different things. So I think first and foremost, one of the reasons we came up with CycleHack is because myself and Joe and Matt, we'd all spent time in different meetings with local authorities and councils. And we wanted to take a much more kind of hack and design-led approach to thinking about how you can actually make cycling more accessible for people. And those meetings were, within the best of respect, quite political, in a lot of language, a lot of urban planning language that an average citizen might not necessarily understand. And in terms of the aesthetic of how those meetings were designed, it's one person on a stage and lots of people listening, and you're being told what the concept is that's going to be taking forward. And you feel as a citizen, if I speak kind of for many of the people we get to work with, quite held back from any form of input into that decision making. And often those kind of, if you look at like participation models, things like Arnstein's ladder for participation, which is a really heavily understood, I guess, model from like the 60s. They talk about, or Arnstein talks about this concept of playstation. So making people feel like they're involved in decision making and citizenship and making change where they live, but actually they're not really, they're just being told in a backwards form of consultation what's going to happen. So one of the reasons I think that CycleHack has been successful to this point is that we don't stand of one to many and say, this is the design that we're going to choose. We say, what do you think? And we don't even give one topic. We just open up a platform and a stage for everyone to stand in a circle and say, this is the problem I have. This is the problem to my knowledge. So you have genuine, I would call it from a designer's perspective, user insight, a person's perspective. And then we pitch people together with the right people to be able to solve that and very quickly, bring a concept to life. So the whole event in itself is a very different aesthetic to the standard ways of being told in a democracy how a city is going to be planned going forward. So I think for one, that really speaks to people. And I think secondly, in the way in which we undertook the first one it is a bit of a party, and that might sound very silly, but there is beer. There are some really great speakers on the Friday evening. It is a fun event that people want to come to connect around cycling. So even if you've just got a community of cyclists in themselves, you're creating a space for people to come together and witness something quite new. So when we have people developing CycleHack concepts and prototyping, this idea of really quickly making ideas real with talented people in the room who have those skills to be able to 3D print, a new piece for a bike, or laser cut a new sign for the city, or write policy in a way that someone's never considered that, they could even write a piece of policy. To be able to produce that really quickly in front of people with them, I think really speaks to people to come along and see how that process works. So in that sense, that's really worked for the actual cycle hackers that come along. And then you've got the CycleHack volunteers. So that's people around the world who are in each city who we genuinely, I mean, we absolutely love, like they're brothers and sisters of some kind of movement. I think what's been successful for those guys signing up is that we give them pretty much full ownership to run the kind of event that they want to run. So, you know, if you're building and trying to scale any kind of movement, the idea is that you give everything away and you'll get much more in return. And I kind of stick by that principle of openness and transparency to get people on board as part of a movement. And so we give everything away. We have a hack pack that helps people understand what it means to cycle hack, how to prototype, what some of the methods are, how to plan an event, how to run it. And we help people with where they might get funding from. We Skype them. It's like giving someone a really big hug on the internet, but we kind of make friends with people, and we celebrate everyone's success as they're starting to plan and build their event. And I think in that reason that it's scaled because there's minimum barrier to entry. There's just a set of, I wouldn't even call them rules, I would call them more principles of engagement for a community about how we want this to be built, and then the community will police itself. So in that sense, we've made a really quite a difficult topic, you know, activism around cycling, to be quite fun, to be very immediate, very democratic, and quite, I think, you know, really enlightening for a lot of people who have never thought that they could build something really quickly and ship it and put it out, you know, in the street. And given that we are designers and we all are part of design companies, you know, I think hopefully we're quite good at filming, photography, capturing it, marketing it, and in a way that is maybe quite different to as some of our partners, and I should be allowed to say this on film, you know, like Sustrans, say that we are able to access a market and a group of people that they have been unable to access with their more traditional charitable communications. So I think we're open, and we extend an arm for anybody to be involved. So it's a real openness, I think, that works. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I also I would sign that the openness and also the confined and kind of quote unquote party atmosphere. And also the playful approach, I think, is what really helps, you know, to not be confronted with like this huge task of needing to solve that issue, but you can just play around with certain aspects. And then a nice thing about it is also that you publish in the how do you call it, in your database of cycle hacks. So people can go in and get inspired about future projects. So that's very interesting. So let's stick to activism and engagement. And I would like to ask a more performative activist in the round, Peatónito. What is your way of telling people that you are actually that the city for walking is the better way to go?
All right, thanks, Florian. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
All right. So I mean, yeah, I decided to do more like communicative activism to illustrate more in the streets. No, that this thing of the mask and go out to the streets to defend pedestrians and fight for the rights of pedestrians is more like a communication weapon. No, usually we just how do you say that? We preach to the believers. No, we preach to the people that that is already convinced. No, so we need to get out of that bubble. No, we need to convince everyone. We need to convince the people who is driving cars. We need to convince our parents, our family, our friends, everyone. No, so we need communication. Communication is the first step of every public policy. If we don't have communication, our problem will never be in our agenda. So we need to create more creative ways of communication in order to win more people in our side, no? And that's our main goal, to be more and more every day, no? I mean, 20 years ago in Mexico, only the bicycle activists started to talk about this problem. No, and nowadays we are more than 50 cities all around Mexico, and more than thousands of people talking about this problem. Activists, people, advocates in the grassroots, advocates in NGOs, no, more professional advocates, and advocates in the government. No, finally we have people in the government that is in our side. No, so we need to be a team. No, in every corner we need to be a team pushing the agenda, like doing more public policy. And I like the way Sarah put it in words, like we have to express democracy in our streets. We have to build more human-friendly cities. And how are we going to build these cities? I mean, we pedestrians and cyclists, we are the zero carbon emission mobility. No, we don't pollute anything. No, so and some people. So we are the solution. No, and some people told us, like, what about electric cars? No, I mean, electric cars could be like a zero carbon emission way of transportation, but we have two problems. We have the problem of space, and we have the problem of speed. If we have more cars in the city, we need more space for the cars, and that means less space for the people, for the cyclists, for the pedestrians. More parking lots. Here in next to my house, they are building a parking lot. Instead of neighbors, I'm going to have more cars next to my building. So that's a very big problem in our cities, all this infrastructure for cars. So that's one of the problems, the space in the city. The solution is less cars in the city, and also the solution is to reduce the speed, to have speed limits in the city. So that's why I love how Natalia talked about road safety, because road safety is the main problem why people don't walk and why people don't bike. Because people, they are willing to bike and walk more, but streets are not for them. If streets are for cars, you have all the motivations and all the incentives to buy a car and to use a car. So we need to have more road safety. So, and I love the name of the organization of Natalia and Pardo, Despacio. I don't know if you know, but despacio means slow. That's one of the main problems in our city. The main problem of road safety is the speed. So we need to have more speed limits in our cities in order to motivate more people to walk and bike. And that's the way how we are going to build these low carbon cities. Here in Mexico City, we have a lot of initiatives. For example, in the Pedestrian League, we just organized a pedestrian congress last year. This is our logo of the third pedestrian congress in Mexico City, in order to talk more about this topic, to push the agenda, to be in the public policy, to invite stakeholders, to invite politicians, and to talk about the problem. We have more publications. For example, this is a book or illustrations about pedestrians. Is a friend from another city in Mexico who illustrates a lot of things about pedestrians in the cities. No, so this material of communications help to reach more people. And finally, I have here, this is the Pedestrian Rights Manifesto of Mexico City. This is our weapon to go to every city in Mexico, and also this has been around Latin America. It has been translated to English and French, and this is just some all the pedestrian rights in one book. Let me show you. So and this is like a poster of all the pedestrian rights, and I mean, cities are made for having fun. Cities are made for play. No, a lot of people tell us that kids shouldn't play in the streets, but that's not the cities that we want. We want children playing in our streets. We want to walk in our cities with a lot of freedom, we have the right to be jaywalkers in our cities. No, jaywalker is an invention of the car corporations. We have to take a statement and to start to build these cities that we are going to enjoy. I mean, we pedestrians and cyclists, we segregate endorphins while we are moving to our work, to our jobs, to our schools. We are the solution of our cities. And finally, I would like to invite everyone, because next year in April here in Mexico City, we will have the World Bike Forum. More than 5,000 cyclists from all over the world will come to Mexico City to this great congress, and in order to push the agenda, to talk more about these topics, and we will have also a pedestrian agenda in the congress. So I hope to see you everyone there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peatónito. This is great that you bring this up, because we previously met during the 4th World Bicycle Forum, which was held in Medellin, by actually the same team that is, or a lot of the same people who are now organizing and invested in the Low Carbon City Forum, and who got really inspired by working on this global agenda of cycling, to work on a broader topic and to work on low carbon cities. And of course, that's also why transport is one of our core themes and stayed ever since. I remember during the World Bike Forum, it was really great also to have you here, because to have you at the event, because it showed that we all can transform from a person walking into a person cycling, vice versa, and that there is no such thing as only a cyclist or only a pedestrian. Or what is a cyclist anyway? You know, I'm also I'm always thinking like, yeah, I'm not a cyclist, and now if I use Twitter, if you recognized already today, if you put in cyclist, it puts like that racing cyclist automatically next to it, which is kind of weird because that's not how I understood it. But anyway, so let's play the ball back to Bronwen and Thornton from the Walk 21 network. If you hear all these goals and everything, what did change in your perception when you talk to cities and also activists? Is there really a movement towards more human scaled cities taking place, and at the same time, where do you see that we can maybe most effectively create a lot of change in the next decades? You know, where are the small screws where people can invest themselves? And I will also play the same question afterwards to Bernhard, just as a warning. But Bronwen first, please.
Okay, that's quite a big question.
Yes.
At the end, but I'll try and give it a very concise answer. I think the transformation in attention on walking in the last 15 years has been fantastic, and I think it's reflected in the level of that you see, the growth in local community groups asking for walking. You see it reflected in things like the World Bike Forum talking about walking, and you see it reflected in the growth of walking conferences and congresses and collections of people getting together to talk about walking. You also see it in places like Stockholm, where their city plan, their public space plan, city. It wasn't called a public space, and it was called a walkable city. So they realized that that's the essence of the starting for the city. And we see it in Paris, we see it in New York, and now we're seeing it in Asian cities as well, where that priority on walking, and they're recognizing, and it's quite complicated because we've talked with different mayors in lots of different cities through our conferences, and we say to them, what motivates you to do something more for walking? And what motivates politicians is different depending on where they are. So in Sydney, it was all economic, the economic outcomes from their CBD, and so it was all about walking. In other places, it was about environmental, clean air. Some it's about democracy. have the right to walk. We have to have a space for walking, and everyone has a right to access their city. So as community groups, and you've got to find those triggers. You've got to find what's motivating those politicians. And sometimes, like in the UK particularly, because we have people with wealth want their public spaces to be nicer because they are wealthy, and they want their streets and their public spaces to be nicer. Whereas people in different areas have lower socioeconomic expectations, but they have the same to those improvements. So very often we found in the UK that ask for better public spaces come from wealthier communities first, and then moved outwards, which is quite. I continue to struggle with the politics of that sometimes, but it does seem to have builds a momentum for walking in across boroughs and regions in the UK.
Could I jump in to join in on your point? Because Florian said we could sort of jump in.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just think you've made such a great, valid point there. It's almost about, so for me, all of this, when we think about like smart design, is about making stuff usable for people, whether it's like a product, a system, a service, you know, and in this context, we're talking about a city. And I think the point you're making is incredibly valid around just find the right hook and the right metrics to get people convinced, and actually taking a much more like system-wide approach at looking at this, because making cities work is about so many different layers of a system. And I think that what's great about all the speakers here is we all come at it from different perspectives, some grassroots, some policy level, some data level, some design. And one of the things that I feel, just building on your point, is another hook and angle that's really being missed actually is an opportunity. It's this concept of future and smart cities, which has become an economy and a marketplace within itself. So I don't know if anyone is completely familiar with that, but a lot of the big firms, you know, I'll remain nameless, but big firms that deal with a lot of data and processing systems are building products that are jumping on this potential marketplace to create data dashboards for cities that, if you actually look at, to be frankly honest, aren't really that useful, because it doesn't give us any data that helps us improve our social well-being and how we walk and move around the city at all. It's just about metric and data gathering. So I really feel that if we can actually start looking at the build of these and looking at this marketplace of smart cities and bringing in more social metrics that are to do with quality of life and well-being, and focus our designs around that to make stuff usable, we'd be in a better place, because we can come in at so many angles around you know, active transport and how we move around. And you can start to look at you know, the future of cars and car companies. And I've been really fortunate to work with some of some bigger and do some research with quite big car companies actually, who are looking at building and are researching creating apps that help people have better well-being on their way to work. So how they start to look at their cars as connected methods of transport across smart cities. So I think just wanted to jump in on that if we can come in around those metrics and use some of the conversations that are going on, particularly around smart and future cities, we might be able to angle in more work around connected transport that fits what we need. I hope that makes sense, but that I really wanted to just jump.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sarah. I think there is cities who do interpret the smart city concept in different ways. Of course, the industry-driven approach is very focused on big data, on generating data, on selling products, technology. But some cities are creating their own take on this, and I just know it from Vienna, where the city government decided, yeah, we are continuously approached by all these big companies, and so we have to create our take on this as an administration. And I can just say from Vienna as a city that the forms of transport that are actually highly effective in terms of resource use and create a lot of co-benefits or primary benefits as well, that they are seen as a smart way of living, you know. So I think that these concepts are out there, and I think we can simply start to use them and mainstream them. I think that there is really a sort of shift taking place where people understand, okay, smart, it doesn't necessarily mean that I understand my life through a smartphone, but it also can mean that I organize my day in a smart way, maybe cycling to work or walking to the next coffee shop and enjoy my time. Is there something what you wanted to add, Bronwen? I think because you were not completely finished, right, with your point.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the biggest picture, but I wanted to comment about the technology and the smart city. And I think the technology is really liberating for walking because it enables people to have so much information in the palm of their hand. And the very analog way of getting out and walking more is to get a new puppy, which distraction, that's what's going on at my feet today. But the very digital way to go out currently is the Pokemon, which is what all my kids want to do. Like suddenly they don't want to drive anywhere. Can we walk to tennis and catch Pokemon? And people have written articles about that already, about the gamification, and we've done some great projects looking at that support for walking. But just enabling the choice and wanting to be on technology is shifting, and enabling journey planning so people can find public transport, they can link into bike stations, all of these things. When people talk about smart cities and driving cars and interconnected systems, they still come down to forgetting that all of these technologies are enabling more walking as well. And in fact, walking allows people to avail themselves of some of this technology and this sort of digital life that we lead. So we're very keen to continue to support both the apps that encourage it, record it, and also help you to plan and deliver on it into the future. We're the original form of transport, but we're certainly part of the technological developments as well.
Okay, thank you very much. We are now an hour into the Hangout already. And I think because we're having such a great conversation, that I would ask you if you agree to stay around 10 minutes longer so we can find a nice wrap up. Sarah will have to jump off a little sooner, so I will just play the last question. Actually, Sarah, you will need to leave, so I will ask you for your, is there a concluding statement what you want to make? And I also have a question for you in the end, that what would be your suggestion for citizens to play their role in mainstreaming walking and cycling to the full?
That's such a big question to run away on. I mean, what is the citizens' role? How can they play into it? I think get involved. I mean, also recognize that the people who do work in local authorities and governments are citizens themselves. You know, it's not a held back a person that's unreachable. We're all human beings at the end of the day. So I think for me, more of a concluding statement, and you know, with this wide range of different perspectives here and people and organizations, is that there is no one silver bullet to making any of this work. And what this takes is an approach of thinking, I really think in sort of systems thinking of what are all the cause and effects that stop people from being able to walk and to freely cycle and move around in a sustainable way, and ultimately like reach, I guess, like a low carbon economy. And I think it's important to really just promote collaboration amongst different organizations that are coming from this at different perspectives, so that we're all sharing and working together to understand where we fit on that scale. You know, at CycleHack, we've never said that we are a big cycle advocacy for increasing this expenditure on infrastructure per se in a local place. That's not what we do. But there are some fantastic organizations out there that do it, who we invite into CycleHack. So for me, in achieving what we're all, you know, here to talk about today, it's really about collaboration and clarity of purpose, and working as a global community as well. And that's great. While we're all here from different locations, and why we built CycleHack to be working at scale is that this is not one city or one country's problem. It's actually a global problem that we have. And we must tackle this at all levels of the system. But what we must do is focus on what and how people use things and need to be able to use things, and come back to actually quality of life, I think, as Bryony was saying. So there's a lot of thoughts in the end there, but ultimately I think this is about collaboration, and really coming back to what people need. And everyone should be involved, because everybody has a valid opinion. Your opinion is based on only what your perception is of the things in front of you. So we have to listen to everyone's approach, and that's why we work with car drivers, lorry drivers, bus drivers, taxi drivers. You know, we work with everybody in order to achieve looking at how cycling can work for everyone. So yeah, collaboration and be friends with each other.
Yeah, and of course participate in CycleHack 2017.
Yeah, we haven't released a date yet, but it will be coming probably in the next couple of months. We're just taking some downtime to regroup and put out the new date, but it's coming soon.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Sarah, for joining us, and we'll continue with the other four speakers for a few more minutes. I was meant to. Bye, Sarah.
Goodbye. Lovely to speak to you all. Sorry.
I was meant to ask Bernhard also your take on this question of where we have the greatest leverage for the next let's see years, you know, like for the next 5 years until 2020, to really create even more support for walking and cycling. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah. I think the key word is already said, and this is collaboration. I think we need it all. We need complementary, you can say, the local activists up to the professional advocacy representatives, to talk to Secretary General of the United Nations, to talk to ministers, to talk to the international institutions, so the World Bank, etc. So we need it all. And collaboration starts with exchange of experience, exchange of knowledge. You can do it on a local level, and we do it all as the organization represented here on the global level. And of course, you need it on the national and international level, on the continental level. So our contribution from ECF is that, for example, we go around the world with our Velocity conference series. We go 2018 to Rio de Janeiro. Next year in June 2017, we go to the Netherlands. This is, you can say, the exchange of experience from activism up to, you can say, high-level abstract policy approaches, because we need it all if we want to change the cities in a disruptive way and not in a kind of incremental way that will be too late, you can say, for changing the cities. So we need this all to create a kind of mainstream civil society support for our political leaders. If our political leaders go the right way, and they have to be re-elected in 4, 5, 6 years after their term, they have to feel that they are supported by civil society. So we have to create that mainstream support in our local communities up to our international high-level advocacy communities, so that people feel that they, as a decision maker, are not alone, and that they will get that support in a right way. And I think we really have to leave that we present every time just ourselves and not widen the scope. So what we did in this brochure about cycling delivers on the global goal is that we try to show that the world we want and the cities we want, that cycling can deliver a lot, but it has to be delivered together with walking and public transport. And this is maybe the last statement from my side, we have to work on what the OECD study stated last week. And this is that only 3% of all trips in the city maybe should be for the car. The other way around, that 97% of all trips in the city can be shifted to walking, cycling, and public transport. And if we achieve this, then we have the great places we want to have, where the children can play, and where we have the human speed from mobility around us. So this is the battle we have to fight for. And for example, if we want to measure the sustainability of transport as the global goals need to be monitored, then we should really monitor that what in the cities is the share of walking, cycling, and public transport together against individual motorized transport. If we take this as an indicator and we measure our city's performance, I think then we go the right way.
Yes. Thank you, Bernhard. That's really a good way to go forward, and I think the increasing importance of civil society organizations and at the same time those organizations finding also how to say a voice in processes like Habitat 3. I mean, for us as the Low Carbon City Forum, it was really great to as a very young organization, you know, as a citizen-led organization, we were able to go to preparatory events of the Habitat 3 conference, to give lectures, to host side events, and now we will also go to Quito to participate in side events and bring in this very lateral approach of creating low carbon cities that are of high quality, but you know, they don't limit our quality of life. But we strongly believe that decarbonization can highly improve our lives, actually. So I think there is a shift taking place, and we are feeling this collaborative, the potential of such a collaborative approach already, and the demand for change is high. But we need to continuously pressure to achieve this. So thank you very much for this statement and the focus on this. Is there anything you want to add to this, Natalia? What do you want to bring to the table in Quito, and what would be your suggestions for citizens to be engaged?
I think the first step is for everyone to start walking and biking more. As you said, instead of walking, I mean, going in a car 10 blocks, you can actually walk there or take your bike there. I think that's the best way to understand the needs of the cyclists and pedestrians. And when you put yourself in their shoes, then you'll understand why they're demanding for better infrastructure, for safer roads, for everything else. In Quito, we're going to be participating in many events. We're going to have an actual intervention in one street. We're going to do it a pedestrian area and a bicycle path, small 3 blocks. So if anyone wants to volunteer, wants to work with us, that's perfect. That's the best way to help Despacio. So yeah, we'll wait for you in Quito, whoever's coming.
Yes, we will be there, and we will see how we can help out, and also we will also welcome Despacio at the Low Carbon City Forum, of course, because Carlos Pardo from Despacio will be one of the speakers. So we are happy to join forces even closer during the next months. Yes. And thank you very much for your suggestions. Is there something? I think I wanna ask Peatónito now what your suggestions for citizens would be to join the pedestrian revolution, as you would say, I guess.
Yeah, Florian, this is a revolution, no? But this is a peaceful revolution, and we need, as I already told you, we need to reach more people. We need to convince more people, and to engage more people. No, there will be maybe a lot of people that will not be engaged, but if they are convinced that this is the future of our cities, we already won. No, maybe we not everybody should be a pedestrian or cyclist activist, but everybody should be aware of this problem. No, because the city is our habitat, is the main habitat of humanity nowadays. So we need to protect our city. We need to have a better future for our city. We don't want people dying in our streets. We don't want people dying because respiratory diseases, because due to the pollution in the air. So we don't want to waste time in traffic jams. No, we don't want more obesity. We want more public spaces. We want safe streets for everybody. So I think my thoughts of this hangout, this great conversation with you all, is we need more collaboration, more community, no, and these all international networking and these all international events are very important this community. No, that's how we have met a lot of people. That is also in our with our ideas. Sometimes we think that we are alone. Sometimes we think that we are crazy. But now we know that we are an international community, no? And this is our future of our cities. The theory is in our side. The data is in our side. No, all the scientific research and papers is in our side. No, we have now to start to work in this, and we also need a lot of lobby. No, we need lobby in order to have more policies in our streets. But and in order to be successful with these policies, we need a carrot and a stick. No, we need to invite people to walk, to bike, to use public transit. But we need to improve that public transit. People in Mexico and Latin America, they don't want to walk bike or take the public transit because it's horrible, no? We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have a good public transit system. So that's why people buy a car and they use the car. So we need all that carrot to the people, no? And we need to build this culture, this great culture of walking, biking and taking the public transit, no? I liked how Bron told us that the gamification of walking, no? We can use all these new technologies in order to motivate people to move in a sustainable way. And I think that's all of my part. And see you in Quito. I'll be there in Quito also. I will be with all the pedestrian activists, all the Latin American revolution, where we'll have protests and more things in Quito in order to convince the stakeholders that pedestrians should be part of the agreements in Quito in the Habitat 3. And that's all. Thank you very much, Florian, for organizing this great and international hangout.
Thank you very much, Peatónito, for participating, and see you soon. And I will give the final word to Bronwen, because you joined us as the last person. What would be your suggestions for citizens to help out with the best mainstreaming of walking and cycling, of course?
Well, I have to agree. The best thing you can do is start walking and cycling. Just start doing it and start understanding what needs to be done, and get busy. Join a local group. Ask your local councillor for action, and just get involved. I'm tired of people complaining about not being able to find a parking space when there's plenty of bicycle parking or footpath space available to people as well. So I think someone said to me once, running's very simple. It's just put one foot in front of the other, a bit faster. Well, walking is even simpler. You don't even have to be fast. You can be as slow and as contemplative or as speedy as you like. So just put one foot in front of the other and keep going. And keep asking and keep walking.
Yeah, that's a very good statement for closing this. Thank you, Bronwen, very much. Is there any additional information that you want to share? What you want to give to our audience today? Was that a finger going up, Peatónito, or was that
yes.
You touching the laptop?
Just a little thing. You just said that what's a cyclist anyway? So I think a cyclist is a fast pedestrian, no? And we together, we are the non-motorized revolution. So we should be together in this fight, because sometimes pedestrians and cyclists they have problems in the streets. But the data told us that if we have more cyclists in the streets, the city will be more safe for pedestrians also. So we should be together, and this kind of hangouts and this kind of events like join us more, and we know that we are in the same fight.
Okay, yeah, that's very true, and I think that. As far as I can tell, all our guests here agree, and we are also. I think it's very important for all of us to remember that we should not only preach to the choir or to the people already convinced. We really need to talk to the people who are not yet convinced, and maybe also show them that the way they experience the city, the way how they spend their trips in the city, those 97% of trips could be potentially also be done with environmentally friendly transport, that there is another urban reality out there. So thank you very much. I wanted to make two announcements. One is that we are very happy that we will be participating in the next Walk 21 conference in Hong Kong. So we will have a lecture there and engage with the crowd there. So during 2nd to 7th of October, you will hear also our words from the Walk 21 conference and see how a low carbon city in the Asian context can take shape. And then, of course, go to our website of the Low Carbon City Forum, join us in Medellin for the Low Carbon City Forum 2016. It was going to be a fantastic event with more than 100 speakers, 60 conference sessions, and now already more than 30 countries confirmed to participate. The event is free of charge, so we don't have any registration fee. We have a huge team of volunteers who worked very hard over the last year to bring that event together. But we believe that this collaboration that we need can be supported also for people who don't necessarily can afford to buy an expensive conference ticket. So we are trying to reduce that barrier. Yes, we are happy to welcome all of you in Medellin. Go to our website, www.lowcarbon.city, and also join us on our social media channels on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you very much to all of our guests. I will just name them who was with us today. Bronwen Thornton, Development Director of Walk 21. Peatónito, pedestrian activist superhero, nothing less of a title. Bernhard Ensink, the Secretary General of the European Cyclists Federation and the World Cycling Alliance. And Sarah Drummond, co-founder and design director of the CycleHack global movement, and of course, Lleras, last but not least, research director of despacio. And thank you very much for attending, and that's it for today's hangout.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.